now for a couple minutes to invite some people over here and also, um, just hang out with them for a few minutes. But now I'm here. I was going to talk about Freemasonry and sports because there's some really cool and interesting connections between Freemasonry and different sports teams that have existed throughout the years, which I still do want to talk about. However, there's been a recent, very interesting poll that has dropped when it comes to or relates to the economic conditions facing millennials in America and Canada, including but not limited to home ownership. And I think that is worth exploring as well because I've said it a million times, you cannot separate the success of you cannot separate the economic conditions of a community from the conditions of Freemasonry within that community. And so to the extent that Freemasonry, to the extent that the community either has positive or negative economic conditions, define those as you will, you're going to see Masonic lodges either grow or suffer at the same time. I talked about this actually in a 2023 Medium story I wrote, Masonic Membership Challenges Reflected in 2023 Wall Street Journal-NORC poll, which I'll talk about a little bit, but it seems like those membership challenges are, continuing to exist based on economic challenges and economic conditions within communities. But we'll give it a few minutes. First, let's just hang out and see who wants to join and see what anybody wants to chat about. The first hour or so I usually just spend hanging out. Good afternoon, Courtney. Thank you for joining. I am definitely one of your brethren, Courtney. I'm not quite one of your lodge brethren, although who knows, maybe one day I can affiliate with Mountain Lodge in Santa Ana. That would be an honor to be a part of that lodge. But I'm definitely honored to be one of your brethren. Thank you so much for being here. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's see who joins. And I hope you'll forgive me if there's any background sound. Somebody's doing some construction work in the hall across from me, so. Yo, you made it to this side, solid. Thank you so much for being back on once again. Well, I'll take it. Thank you, YouTube, for, thank you, the algorithm that rules all our lives, for having me pop up on Solid Chris's feed twice. So let me know, Chris, I think you mentioned, if I recall correctly, a couple minutes ago, that you have some friends who are Freemasons. NKAI says hello. Hello, NKAI. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know how you're doing. And let me know if things are going well for you. Sorry, what's the sash thing? That might be you're referring to Scottish Rite. Or do you mean the aprons? Thank you, NKAI. I'm going to just call you NK for now. Hope you don't mind. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Nakai. All right, Nakai, thank you for being here. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you will hit like I said, I hope that you will, and just to everybody watching, hit the like and subscribe button, and let me know if you have any questions about Freemasonry. Zachary, welcome, Zachary. I hope you're doing well. The first hour of these streams, I usually just chat about whatever. Any questions or comments people have about Freemasonry in general, I try to answer them. And then the second bit, I try to talk about specific topics. What's that? Freemasonry is an umbrella term that refers to, this is my definition, refers to fraternal or civic organizations that evolved from stonemason guilds in some form or another. So these can include fraternal organizations as well as organizations for women exclusively or for men and women, as well as youth groups. But what they have in common is they all have some type of foundation or founding at stonemason guilds of medieval Europe. So Knights of Columbus is a similar organization. They are another civic group that is fraternal, but it's not the same because to be a Knights of Columbus, you need to be Catholic, whereas Freemasonry is open to, it's non-denominational, anybody can join, so long as you believe in a supreme being, but that supreme being can be Muslim, Catholic, Jewish, the denominations of Catholic, the First Nations, Hindu, Sikh, etc., etc. All is well, raised eyebrow. Greetings, Johnny. Yeah, supreme being is what they would normally say. That's how I would describe it. A higher power kind of works as well. I am not Catholic. I would describe myself as non-denominational. I do believe in a supreme being, but I don't necessarily believe in any one particular religious faith. I have no idea who Steak's brother is, but Jill is Chong. I'm going to call you Jill is Chong Jillage. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And let me know if you have any questions about Freemasonry. Any thoughts, any ideas? I guess, I wouldn't even describe myself necessarily as non-denominational. I am bald. In perfectly fairness, I got hair. I just keep it short because I'm in a wheelchair and I need I need to have as little wind resistance as possible. So you don't get invited, right? That's one of the things solid that Freemasonry prides itself on, which is you don't get invited to join, and it's not about money. Rather, you have to express an interest. So if there's a Masonic lodge close to you, or you said you have friends who are Masons, you basically approach them and express an interest in joining and ask them about joining. And then from there, there's a process that they'll go through. They'll get to know you. You'll get to know them. And if everybody decides kind of thing that you'd be a good fit and you think you would enjoy Freemasonry after talking to them, then you would basically get an application. So it's not about money. It does cost money to join, but it's not that much. It's usually a one-time payment of between $500 to $1,000, give or take, for the initiation fee, and then every year after, it's between 100 and 200 US, is in my experience about average. There are some that are as low as $50 a year, some as high as 500, but usually between $100 to $200 per year is the average. The initiation fee is a lot, but every lodge has different amounts. So some it could be as low as $200, $100. Some it could be as high as $1,000. It really just depends on the lodge, but that initiation fee tends to be the highest amount. And again, there are some where you pay initiation fee first, but you don't have any dues that you pay for that first year. So it depends on what it costs in New York, right? Like I would imagine, this is just my guess, raised eyebrow, New York would be a little bit more expensive because I think New York is a more expensive town. But I would have no way to know for sure, right? Like the cheapest I know is about $500 all in for the first year, and then $100 to $200 afterwards. But what I would say is at the start, the biggest thing is just go talk to them and ask them how much it costs and see if they have different options in terms of deferred payment, because some lodges may have that as well. Muslims can be Freemasons. I know many Muslims, solid Chris. I know many Muslims who are Freemasons. They are excellent and valued part of the craft, So I'm honored to call Muslims my brothers. Yeah, now there are some that may not have initiation fees, but most lodges do. I don't think that's true. I've known a sufficient number of Muslims some of whom seem to be pretty devout Muslims, that I feel like, at least the way they interpret it, it must be in line with their religion. Now, whether you agree or disagree with the way they interpret their religion is another issue, but I mean, I'm going to put this up a little bit better so it's a little more centered. But I I don't know. Guess what I could say is I'm not an expert on the Muslim religion, but it seems as though they're able to both be engaged in Freemasonry and, you know, be responsible to their Muslim religion. Brother Adam, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. How is it going? This first hour, we're just going to hang out and chat, and then the second hour, we talk about specific topics, including some consumer affairs information, which I think is actually pretty interesting. That's true as well. The smaller jurisdiction is, but it also depends on how expensive your town is, right? If you have a really expensive town with higher cost of living, it's going to be higher cost for Freemasonry as well. So it's all going to depend on the costs associated with your area, right? It tends to be how it's going to go, at least in my experience. I don't know, Brother Adam. I hope so, but I don't know. That's what scares me personally, is whether it'll be around in 50 years. There are many Masons doing their best to try to make sure it sticks around, including by, you know, engaging in things such as this, you know, online engagement, things of that nature. We'll see if it works or not. But that is a very good poll question, and I don't know the answer. The numbers and the way they're going do not seem favorable to that, put it that way. But at the same token, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? Because there's plenty of times where organizations and numbers have struggled and turned around and found new success. Even Freemasonry, there's been plenty of times historically where numbers were dropping only to experience a turnaround. So we shall see. The postman always rings twice. Yeah, the knocking 3 times. I mean, it's, you know, it seems that Freemasonry has gotten better about that. I don't think we did ourselves any favors by constantly, by refusing to kind of advertise ourselves at all or talk about what Freemasonry is or why it is we love it so much, or the benefits of it or what it means. I don't think we did ourselves any favors. I think we're doing a much better job now at better understanding kind of the value of talking about and promoting ourselves within the community, within different organizations. Prince Hall numbers are dropping too. I mean, I hope Prince Hall is around also, but I don't think Prince Hall numbers are doing that much better than ours, that's for sure. Is that what you would say, Brother Adam? I'm not sure if that necessarily was the case. It's an interesting idea. Nothing wrong with the small lodge, Courtney. Small lodges are great. You can get a lot of value from a smaller Masonic lodge. They also tend to be less expensive, I find, in terms of your dues, because their costs are less. I mean, I think for most generations, based on what I've seen, the reason you tended to join Freemasonry, certainly in the 1920s and the 1950s, was not so much that you want to become a man. It was more a combination of a desire to be part of the community and a desire to be part of something bigger than yourself. it wasn't so much about a desire to personally improve or to make, good men better. It was more about, I'm part of this community. The Masons are part of this community. I want to be part of the Masons to be more a part of the community, right? And you also saw a lot of Masonic growth in the 20s and 50s being fueled by returning World War I and World War II veterans who were, had a fly flying around me, who were, looking to recapture, it feels like recapture the same camaraderie and brotherhood that they felt while fighting overseas. Whereas I think in the 90s and 2000s, it's became more about joining for personal growth, and a desire to become, as Dad says, right, men becoming better men. I personally think that can be something of a dangerous thing. I think we need to focus more on joining, not for what we can get personally, but rather for what Freemasonry can do for the communities. We should be joining to be, we should join to desire, we should join Freemasonry out of a desire to contribute to the community and the world. I think might be a more healthy approach in terms of lodge membership and lodge retention. Actually, Adam, do you follow me on Medium at all? And that's going to be my poll question to start with. Actually, I'm going to make the poll question your question to start with. Will Freemasonry... Well, Adam, do you know what Medium is? That might be my next question. But I've written about this on my Medium page. If you're possible and you can click this, you might find my Medium page. I've written about the motivations of why men join Freemasonry and the motivations as to why men will choose to remain engaged in Freemasonry. If you go to Medium and you go to Square and Compass Promotions, you should be able to find it. And also what I'm going to be talking about here, which is the connections between economic conditions and Masonic membership. I mean, you asked, will Freemasonry exist in 50 years? One of the big questions will be, what will the economic conditions in North America be like in 50 years? And to what extent will, if the economic conditions continue to be challenging, what will that mean for Freemasonry? Five votes? Yes, 100%. Well, I'll take the positive energy. I will take that positive energy. Welcome if you're just joining us. The problem is the Christian community is failing to show less reverence for the holy. I mean, I'm not sure what you necessarily mean by that. I mean, certainly churches are struggling in membership as well as everything else. It's not exclusive to Freemasonry that we are seeing things drop. So is Knights of Columbus, for that matter. Also, Brother Adam, you can also follow me on Patreon. I'd appreciate that as well. Patreon.com/square and compass. Well, but I mean, America is not as culturally as Christian. I think that's true. Although Freemasonry, right, is not a Christian organization. It welcomes men of all faiths. There's York Rite, which is a different body. So I'm not sure if having a less culturally Christian society would result in reduction in Masonic membership. I mean, I don't know how culturally Christian, America was in the 1920s during the kind of Gilded Age and the Roaring Twenties. It seems like it was not that culturally Christian, and you had Masonic boom periods. Digital age does hurt us. I think the digital age can be a tool to help as well, but I think the digital age definitely hurts us. It creates a very complicated problem, right? Because I think ultimately what the digital age does is it creates a sense of fellowship and brotherhood without the necessity of in-person meetings and joining groups. So, back in the 1950s, let's say, if you were part of a Masonic lodge and you knew that one of your brothers, had a pregnant wife or was going to have a kid, if you wanted to find out, if they had the child, how the wife was, how the kid was, how they were doing, you couldn't go onto Facebook and check for a birth announcement. You couldn't give them a call. You had to actually go to the Masonic lodge and hope they would be there and then talk to them face to face about what's happening within their life, right? And in that sense, you managed to feel like you were connected to their life and connected to their communities. With the digital age, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, digital messaging, it makes you feel like you're maintaining a connection to these brothers by knowing what's happening with their lives on Facebook, even though you may not see them in person. And so it allows people to feel like they are maintaining a sense of brotherhood and connection, even when they are not necessarily in a Masonic sense. But it also provides tools. I mean, virtual meetings can be an excellent form of brotherhood. It can bring in brothers who cannot visit lodges in person, either because they're sick, they traveled away, they're out of town. Masons you're not seen for a while. Also, if you don't do ritual, you can bring in applicants to those meetings. You can also bring in guest speakers. I mean, there's a lot of potential benefits to digital age as well as potential harms. So you kind of have to keep both in mind at the same time. But I think in some ways the digital age is hurting us. It's up to us, though, because the digital age is not going anywhere. It's up to us to adapt. Courtney D put it best, right? Courtney put it best, right? It's about adapting to modern communications, just an adaptation, right? As much as people like to pretend like Freemasons don't adapt to, time, we do. We've adapted to changes in the past. Yeah, I don't necessarily think so. Like Brother Adam, I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong. A lot of people, not even youth, are promoted to kind of the esoteric side of Freemasonry, and a lot of people are kind of bigging that side up in an attempt to get new members. In my experience, that usually, when people join out of kind of a desire for esoteric knowledge, they're usually left wanting in Masonic circles. They usually find themselves leaving sooner or later, or sometimes joining even more esoteric orders. I find those Masons who join out of a desire for service to others, service to the community, you tend to get more staying power out of them, right? You tend to get more desire, because even though Freemasonry is not a service organization, it's not a charitable organization, right? If you take my philosophy, which is Freemasonry is the belief that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth, then applying brotherly love, relief, and truth and trying to make the world a better place is something that I think is worth joining for. Yeah, like OT or something. When you join Freemasonry from esoteric purpose to discover secrets, to discover whatever it might be, some type of esoteric knowledge, or to have initiatic experience, I find those guys tend to burn out. Or sometimes they can go down some pretty dark paths. I've known a few Masons who joined out of a desire for esoteric knowledge, ended up leaving and joining some, in my opinion, what would be described as cults, because usually a desire for esoteric knowledge, I find that's a self-defeating prophecy, because it's never esoteric enough, at least in my experience. Whereas, a desire for service, a desire to, improve the world through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth, those things tend to have a much better and a much longer shelf life. Well, you can't see this, but somebody just asked me, do you have autism? I don't think so, but who knows? Anything's possible. But to the person who asked that, please hit the like and subscribe button. When you say it creates a good culture, do you mean Christianity? Solid Chris? Do you mean Freemasonry? Because I believe in the latter. 100% I think Freemasonry creates a good culture. Oh, Brother Adam, if you're going to be on YouTube, you need to get used to people jumping on stream and saying things. So I've gotten used to it. I don't mind at all. And I wouldn't mind having autism. It's okay. I know people have autism. They're cool, right? It's like anything else. It's just kind of it's like when people jump on and I don't know. I would not mind one or the other, but to my knowledge, I do not have autism. I'm just a very, very handsome man who likes to talk about Freemasonry and is asking everybody watching this, if you're not done so yet, to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join me on Medium, join me on Patreon, etc., etc., etc. But when you say it promotes a good culture, do you mean Freemasonry? Because I agree with that 100%. Dog Eat Dog, welcome Dog Eat Dog. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. That's right. I am a handsome brother indeed. Interesting. 7 votes. Will Freemasonry exist in 50 years? Yes, 86%. No, 14%. To the people who said, the one person who said no, let me know why you might have said no, what your thoughts are. I agree with that raised eyebrow. I do agree with that. I agree with that for change in general. I mean, if you are going to be resistant to changes in culture, changes in technology, then you, by definition, you are showing a preference to kind of the older generation who did not have that technology, right? Which can make the newer generation feel as though they are not as wanted, not as desired, not as much a part of the lodge. So no, I agree with that 100%. I try to be, whether I succeed or not, again, that's up to everybody else to decide, but I try my best to be good people anyways. I mean, I understand, Brother Adam, what you're saying. I would disagree with that a little bit. I wouldn't say Freemasonry is not a secret society. Rather, it's and I know this is cliched, but it is a society with secrets. Right? And what I mean by that is you can promote Freemasonry, right? You can promote the things that you love about Freemasonry. You can promote why you think it's important. You can promote its history. You can promote what you would view as the most important things about it. You can promote all of that type of stuff. What you can't promote, obviously, is the modes of recognition, the ritual, things of that nature. But you can promote its value on the community, right? You can promote all of those type of things. It's just you cannot promote necessarily the modes of recognition. But I think there's a lot of opportunities for promotion of the craft that we have let slip over the years, unfortunately. And I think we need to look at changing that and at bringing in more promotion to the craft. Well, no, I think, tech it's old but new. I mean, there have been computers since, as my callers messed up, there have been computers since, I don't even know how long, since the 50s technically, right? The laptop's probably in the 90s. But the extent to which we are reliant on technology for our communications, for our correspondence, for email, that is new. Smartphones certainly are very new, right? Like smartphones, what, 10 years? 15 years, if that, and the extent to which it's changed the way we communicate with each other, even the idea of what is a friend, right? The term friend, thanks to Facebook, is completely different than what it was 30 years ago. So technology is not new per se, but certainly the impact on our lives, the way we talk even, leaving somebody on read, right? That's a technological statement basically, right? Based on how something appears on your phone. So all of that stuff is very, very new. As Dad points out, look at all the Masonic temples that are being displayed, around the world. If it was a secret society, we're doing a bad job at hiding our temples, that's for sure. We're just going to give it a bit more time. As always, this first hour, I'm going to be, we do have an EA there, so nobody share any secrets at the above 2 degrees, but he just got his EA degree, so Fellowcraft might be coming in a couple months, month or two. There's no rush. Courtney, take your time and enjoy it. That's the most fun part about the process, is enjoying the journey. Let's give it a bit more time to see what jumps in the chat. Like I said, I was going to talk about Freemasonry in sports, which I may still discuss. However, it also might be worth talking about this recent consumer affairs story and report that I've got, comparing the cost of generations. This was from July 3rd, 2025. Very interesting insights into the purchasing power that individuals have. I've heard that on Knights of Columbus, that it's really dropping in terms of numbers. Hopefully, it will start to grow once again. We'll keep our fingers crossed. But yeah, I think it's a real shame as well, just to see how much it has dropped. And I'm not one of those Masons who is going to knock any groups for, like whether it's Knights of Columbus, whether it's Freemasonry, whether it's Rotary, whether it's whatever it is. I hope that I hope that we can all grow together. And I believe that we can all grow together if we are all willing to work hard. Consumer Affairs wrote the report. Looks like the most recent one is from Consumer Affairs. I'm sorry to hear. I've heard that that's been happening. Someone came along and told me that was taking place. So I'm really sorry to hear that as well. Sometimes I get really frustrated by Freemasonry for various variety of reasons. But when I consider what's happening with other organizations and other groups, what I hear about Knights of Columbus, in some ways, the fact that Freemasonry is doing as well as it is doing is pretty incredible, considering all the challenges some of these other groups are having. So. Do you think, Brother Adam, out of curiosity, do you think that Knights of Columbus will exist in 50 years? If you had to guess? Do you mean Freemasonry, or do you mean Knights of Columbus, or both? Right? I think, because in Freemasonry, I would say it's not so much the obligation, although that helps a lot, but I would say it's the work that we are willing to put into the craft. That's what makes us strong. Yes, because they are attached to Catholic Church by law and the magisterium. Okay, so you are thinking that Knights of Columbus is going to be around for the next. That's good. Like I said, I'm one of those. I think, the more that we can all exist, the better. When you say pressure, what do you mean by pressure? Do you mean pressure from? Do you mean pressure from the church to join Knights of Columbus, or do you mean? Okay, so do you find that helps get people to join, or because I could imagine in some ways the pressure could potentially backfire on some if they maybe, because one thing about Freemasonry, the reason we don't try to pressure people to join or even invite people to join is we want to make sure that when they are joining, they're joining of their own free will and accord and not joining because they've been pressured into it. Now, again, um, like, would you worry that, if they're joining just to make their, I guess, padre, the father happy, that they're going to stick with it? Or do you think that they might not want to stick with Knights of Columbus because they've been pressured to join? Or do you think it's kind of academic, and so long as you get them through the door, you get them through the door? Spirit, that is the attitude. And do you think the reason they don't usually stick with it is because they were pressured to join in the first place? Right? Is that kind of, because again, there's different explanations as to why, but the most common explanation I hear as to why we as Freemasons do our best to not try to unduly influence or pressure people to join is because if we're pressuring somebody to join out of like, you're my friend, you should join, or, I'm your boss, you're my employee, you should join. Like, if they're not joining of their own free will and accord, but joining to make somebody else happy or out of some type of pressure, they're not likely to stick around for very long. Yes, the fact that it's on a Zoom call is concerning to me, right? I don't think that would be a good thing at all. So, do you have Zoom calls for every meeting or just ritual meetings? Like, do you still have in-person meetings and like business meetings and things like that? And also, is Knights of Columbus, out of curiosity, Brother Adam, are they looking at embracing things like podcasts and like what I'm doing here to try to grow their numbers? Do you find that there's some interest in the online space? Well, we all have our beefs. Actually, what's interesting is, maybe Knights of Columbus should consider it. What I understand is actually Knights of Columbus kind of existed pre-Catholic Church, or it was a separate entity from the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church, after kind of stating its opposition to Freemasonry, adopted it into the church as a alternative to Freemasonry, or yeah, just as you say there. But again, because you don't really need it because we as Freemasons welcome Catholics into Freemasonry, obviously. So, and I don't know how actually the rules are practiced in terms of not being able to take communion. I think most Catholic Freemasons still take communion without issues. So I don't know. I would think that, part of the issue is you're marketing yourself as an alternative to something that, at least from our side, you're allowed to join, which might make attendance challenging. If the reason people are joining Knights of Columbus is because they really want to be a Freemason, probably just be a Freemason. So I know many Catholic Masons I don't know how secretive or not secretive they are about their about their Masonic membership in their churches. Um, I know, for example, in the Philippines, which has a very high Masonic population, they also have a very high Catholic population, and I think it's kind of just a well-known situation. So, to my knowledge, Brother Adam, it's not that, I mean, and again, I'm not an expert on this, so I could be getting it very wrong. It's not that they're excommunicated. That used to be the case, that they were excommunicated. I believe after 1983, it switched to they're no longer allowed to take communion in the church. They have to give this symbol, which is the same symbol I had to give. I went to Catholic church once because I was my godchild's godfather, or I was my godchild was getting baptized in a Catholic church, and I was the godfather, so I attended. But because I'm Anglican, when it came to the giving of communion, I had to make this symbol. As they should, Spirit, and I love you too, buddy. So thank you for being here. I think a lot of this stuff, again, it does still exist. As of 2025, there is still the Catholic statement that if you are a Freemason, you cannot take communion. I am hoping that the new Pope, Pope Leo the 14th, may be willing to reconsider, simply because he was born in 1955 in Chicago, in a place and time in which Freemasonry was very, very ubiquitous, and there was a lot of them. And it makes me think maybe, he might have a more favorable view of Freemasonry than some of his predecessors. But that's just my hope. I know a lot of Freemasons who are Catholics are starting to push for recognition of Freemasonry within Catholicism. So we'll see. But I mean, I'm keeping my hopes up. Well, nobody's perfect, Brother Adam. No group is perfect. I mean, that's okay. I've known a couple, not really well, but I've known a couple. Always friendly guys, always nice guys. Like I said, where we go one, we go all, right? If it's not as though, like, I've seen no evidence to indicate that as Knights of Columbus, let's say, starts to drop in membership, suddenly you're going to have a whole bunch of new Freemasons joining, right? It's like, it makes no sense for Freemasons to be hoping for the reduction in numbers of any fraternal organization or civic organization, because as those numbers drop, so too will Freemasonry. Freemasonry numbers drop. We either rise together or drop together, for better or worse. And let them celebrate such things. Nobody's perfect, right? So I'm not going to overly worry about it. I've only met one. Okay, I mean, I don't know how popular Knights of Columbus would be in Texas, 'cause I don't know how popular Catholicism is in Texas. But I hope that it is, like I said, I hope that things go well for them. Well, it's not exclusively online. The majority of it is online. The issue is sometimes, to what extent can that majority online anti-Masonic content bleed over into real life? So in Vancouver, 3 Masonic lodges were set fire to by a crazy person who, to my knowledge, was looking at a lot of Q and kind of conspiracy stuff online. In Texas, somebody shot and killed a Mason. He was actually a worshipful master, I believe, coming out of a Masonic lodge just because he was a Mason and he had been online seeing conspiracy theory stuff. So it's possible for, like, the majority of it is online, right? But we have to be aware of what's happening online because sometimes that can bleed over into uh, into the real world, unfortunately. Good. That's awesome. I was not aware of that, Brother Adam. I had heard that DMLA was kind of struggling in the US. It's great to hear otherwise. When you say in the US, do you mean, like, to your knowledge, is that countrywide, nationwide, or is that specific to certain states? I got to get a DMLA on my podcast at some point. I've done Rainbow, which was awesome, but I need to get DMLA on here as well. Very cool. In what areas would you say it's thriving the most or growing the most? Because that's awesome to see. And again, as one grows, we all grow. So, as DMLA grows, you're only going to see Freemasonry grow as well. It is Masonic. Well, but again, Freemasonry is not a religion. Wisconsin. I've been close to Wisconsin. I traveled to Chicago, Illinois all the time, and so that's what, an hour from the Wisconsin border, maybe 2 hours. Uh, or no, I'm thinking of the right place. Yes, Courtney is August 5th for your fellowcraft degree? Awesome, Courtney. Okay, so that gives you a bit of time to get ready. Wait, no, August 5th you got your EA degree. Sorry, I got mixed up there for a second. August 5th you got your EA degree. He did, and it's awesome to be able to call Courtney brother. So it's interesting. I have no idea how huge of a state Milwaukee is. It's way bigger than I thought. Um, The Butler D. Molay Center in Wisconsin is up north, almost by the UP of Michigan. I'll have to see if I can learn more about it there because, again, it's great to see youth groups growing it's great to see Masonic youth groups growing. Would you say that Wisconsin is one of the higher number in terms of Freemasons? West Coast, so like California. I've heard California Freemasonry is doing very well. I've got some friends from, well, that's more East Coast, right? Rhode Island, Maine. West Coast would be, West Coast would be California, um, Seattle, Washington. I mean, I've heard California though is doing really well, but it's great to hear Maine, Rhode Island is doing really well also. I've heard New York is kind of struggling a little bit. I got East and West Coast mixed up all the time. I'm the worst with directions. Well, the Filipinos are doing a great job at growing Freemasonry in general, both DMLA and otherwise. To their absolute credit, they are in a lot of ways crushing it, and doing a great job. I was just in Brazil, Brother Adam. Freemasonry is doing very well there. Although right now in Brazil, I think there's some issues with multiple jurisdictions. There's some problems there. But I got to check out Freemasonry in Rio de Janeiro, and it was absolutely incredible. Um, the lodge room had a bunch of stars on the ceiling. It was just beautiful. It was a beautiful lodge room, beautiful people, awesome friends, awesome brothers. Probably the best Masonic meal I ever had was in Rio de Janeiro, by a mile. I don't know what that means. They cut corners like fire, I heard. I'm not sure what that means. I mean, if you're talking about ritual, they seem to do the ritual act, pretty. Didn't seem to take a lot of cutting of corners for that. They seem to do their ritual because I was there for the 90th anniversary of the formation of the Grand Lodge South America Northern Division, so SAND basically. I'd believe it. I mean, I had the chance to just see two. I wish I could have seen more, but I'd believe it that they have the most beautiful lodges because what I saw was absolutely beautiful. Just the whole country was beautiful. I loved the people. People were beautiful. It was wonderful. Strange and beautiful are the stars tonight that dance above your head. It's a line from Blue Rodeo's Lost Together. And it's what I thought of when I went into the Masonic lodges and saw the absolutely beautiful ceilings, which were full of, at least the ones I went to, which were full of stars. So they were absolutely gorgeous. By the way, if you're not done so yet, please hit that like and subscribe button if you're new. As all Masons should be, right? As all Masons should be. It's tough. Don't get me wrong. Traveling, I know, can be really hard, especially when you have family, especially when you have a lot of commitments. But if you can travel, I've always said the most important thing you can do for your Masonic lodge is to the most important thing you do for Freemasonry is to visit your Masonic lodge as often as possible. The most important thing you can do for for your Masonic career and your Masonic experience is to travel as much as possible and as often as possible. That can mean traveling to the Masonic lodge that meets in the next room to yours on a different night of the week. That can mean traveling to a new country or a million miles away. Yeah, what's the furthest you've ever traveled for a Masonic event? I've never been to Thailand. That's in Bangkok, right? Or St. John's Lodge. Where is St. John's Lodge? Yeah, I think that's in Bangkok, St. John's Lodge. I've heard that's really beautiful. I heard it was founded through the United Grand Lodge of England. So I was thinking of trying to go there myself at some point, but it's a 21-hour, 15-minute flight, $1,611 getting there from, let's see, what would it be from Toronto? nice. Is her family still there, or is her family here in America? What's going on, Smokey? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining. Well, that's true for so many places, Dad. Like, I love, and we got the hearts. Thank you, Smokey. We go to, when I go to, Chicago, which I love. I'm always being told about the crime rates. When I go to Detroit, I hear about the crime rates. When I go to all of these places, I keep hearing about all these terrible crime rates, and then I get there, and it's like, I never feel unsafe. Same thing with San Francisco, same thing with Brazil, same thing with the Philippines. I at no point ever felt unsafe. So it's like, what are you talking about? I thought it was really, there was like a cruelty to that, saying those things about what I would view as an absolutely wonderful and beautiful cities and wonderful and beautiful countries. Thank you for being here on a smoke break. Thank you for being the hearts. I did not hear about that, Brother Adam. What's happening with Russia and the rescinding of lodges? It might be worth studying at some point. Which lodges, though? Because there's different Masonic lodges there. There's different Grand Lodges. I'm going to look this up quickly because I'm curious now. Russia, Freemason. I don't see anything in news. Did Chris Hodop talk about it on Freemasonry for Dummies, maybe? News. Chincoteague Town in Virginia. Oh my gosh, 45 years old. You're an old man, Courtney. You're an old man. By the way, still let me know if you, or when you get your card. I don't think Canada Post is on strike yet. And I sent it off on the, what date did I mail it off on? The 4th, I think it was. Oh no, it was before I left. I think I mailed it on the 31st or the 1st, something like that. Anyways, once you get it, let me know. Yeah, brother, let me know if you can find that info. I'd be really curious to know where the what's been happening with that, because I know that it seemed like the lodges in Russia were actually doing a pretty good job at growing again. Russia Freemasonry. We're going to see if Adam can give me that information. Let me know in the meantime how you guys are doing. If you have any questions, comments about Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I may share this stream with a couple different people. Let's see if I can just get this looking a little bit better. We all wish we were younger. We all wish we were younger, but hey, we're as young today as we'll ever be, so there is that to keep in mind. Right? We are as young today as we will ever be. Information on the violation of the sovereignty of the Grand Lodge of Kazakhstan by the Grand Lodge of Russia. Oof. That sounds fun. If you want to, and if you can, I hope that you will forward that email to me, info@squareandcompass.ca. If you could send that to me by email, I would really appreciate it. What is up, Ryan? I hope that you are doing well. Please take a moment. Everybody who's just joining us, hit the like and subscribe button if you're not done so already. Christopher, what's up? And to everybody else joining us, I hope you guys are doing well. We're here to chat about Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear it. I am always doing good. I hope that you are doing good also. Every day above ground is a good day, you know? Out here just living the dream. So like I said, I don't know anything about this. I'd have to do some studying on it. Andrei Bogdanov. See if I can find anything about him. Yeah, info@squareandcompass.ca. So he's a Russian politician and a prominent Freemason serving as the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Russia since 2007. Is there any news about him? Let's go to the news. But yes, please send me that email. I would truly appreciate it. I hope that you are doing well. Everybody's watching us. If you are joining for the first time, please hit that like and subscribe button. Problem is, how do you interpret friend and brother eternal in context with something like this? So do you mean like how do I treat Russian Masons if they're coming to visit, based on what UGLE is saying? So I mean, for me personally, right, the way I would treat it is, thank you, I like this shirt, is, when it comes to who is and is not allowed, well, I mean, I can only speak for myself. Get back to work, Smokey, but thank you for being here as always. What's up, WNB? So what I always say, Brother Adam, is, when the lodge is, so in terms of who is and is not allowed in the Masonic lodge room during a meeting, that is something to which I will always defer to my Grand Lodge and their list of recognized versus unrecognized lodges, right? So for example, if the Grand Lodge of Canada in Ontario comes out and says we are not recognizing Masonic lodges in Russia, then and a Russian Mason comes to visit me, then he cannot sit in or take part of the lodge meeting. But me personally, I would still consider that person to be a brother. I would still, treat him with respect. I'd let him take a tour of the building. He would still be a friend and a brother in my personal life, just not during a Masonic meeting. And certainly, if we had a social function or a social event, maybe something that's open to the public, maybe something that, barbecue, whatever it is, I'm not going to stop him from attending and hanging out with him. Because sooner or later, everything changes. Sooner or later, recognition will once again be restored. Do we want those Masonic relationships to atrophy to the point where we have to build from scratch? Or do we want to maintain some type of personal friendship and respect while the Grand Lodges, return and revoke recognitions? We got Ryan, we got Harry. I hope everybody is doing well. As always, please take a moment if you are just joining us. Jump in the chat, say hello, let me know how it's going. If there's anything that you guys want to chat with when it comes out to Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'm always happy to hear different points of view. And in probably another, actually 1 hour in. So in another couple minutes, I'm going to start talking about today's subject. I was going to start talking about Freemasonry in sports, but I think what I'm going to start talking about actually is a recent poll I saw, or a recent article I saw regarding from Consumer Affairs regarding the costs of generations and how those costs can affect Masonic membership. Having said that, though, it sounds like Ryan McKee is interested in sports and Freemasonry. There's actually a pretty cool connection between the two in a lot of different ways, right? If you look, for example, at Scottish Rite Northern Masonic jurisdiction, here's a great story. I mean, yeah, we shouldn't want stars to join to market, but we should want people to join who can contribute. And if part of the way they contribute is by, promoting the craft through being a star, that's one of the great, that could be incredibly helpful to and for Freemasonry. So I certainly support that as an idea. What do Freemasonry, soccer, baseball, and golf all have in common? They were all shaped in some way or form by a Mason. Freemasons have made their mark throughout history as politicians, historians, teachers, and presidents. There have also been many notable Masons that have made advancements in more creative and out-of-the-box professions, such as writers, musicians, magicians, and even astronauts. However, an industry not so often talked about in relation to the square and compasses is professional sports. So Harry Thotter, I'm going to make sure we can see this. If I could, darn it. So Harry Thotter, if you're still there, he wrote, Freemasons are devil worshippers. You can't see that because YouTube hid the comment. Harry, why do you think Freemasons are devil worshippers if you're still there? And by the way, feel free to share this stream with some of your other, shall we say, perhaps conspiracy-minded folks. I'd be happy to talk with them as well about why they are incorrect. But let me know why it is you think that to be the case. So, Harry, Freemasonry, when you say biblical times, I'm assuming you're referencing, let's say, the dawn of history to 100 AD, give or take. Freemasonry did not exist during biblical times, right? Freemasonry, depending when you want to place it, I place the start of Freemasonry at 1717, with the formation of the Premier Grand Lodge of England. You could put it earlier at 1523 to 1623, but certainly Freemasonry did not exist during biblical times, right? So there were no Freemasons to sacrifice to anyone at that point, or to be doing any sacrifices. Now, when you say, now, stone Freemasons, operative Masons existed in biblical times. Some argue that the first stonemason was Nimrod with the Tower of Babel. Certainly, I would say stonemasonry existed since 3.5 million years ago, when our human ancestors created stone tools out of rocks and bashed them together. But Freemasonry, speculative masonry, is much newer. And Freemasonry does not worship Satan, nor does it worship any religious identity of any sort. It is a non-religious organization that welcomes men and women. There's the Order of Women Freemasons as well, but welcomes people of all faiths: Christian, Muslim, Jewish. I've never met a Freemason who proclaims to be a Satanist. Well, but again, I've heard of the Noah lights, or whatever term you want to use, but Noahides, I think, was the term. But Freemasons, again, speculative Masons, right? And it had to be that is the case, because Freemasonry, because it evolved from stonemasonry and stonemason guilds, you first had to have the guilds. I mean, you had organized stonemasonry, again, since probably Egypt, probably organized stonemasons probably existed since the pyramids, right? But actual guilds, Masonic guilds, came much later, didn't come till the Middle Ages. And you needed those first to then have Freemasons. So why do you say that, Harry? Because I know many, but again, he was a philosopher. Certainly Freemasons adopted Pythagoras' philosophical ideas somewhat, but so did stonemasons, right? How do you make a perfect square? Angle, 3, 4, 5. So Harry, why do you say you cannot be a religious person and a Freemason? I know many religious people who are Freemasons of many different types of religions. I've known some who are actually leaders in their religious denominations who are Freemasons, and do not find any conflict between the two. Welcome back, Nikai. I don't think you have to be, Brother Adam. I would disagree with you on that one. Unless you define religious in an incredibly broad way. So, for example, if, someone who has religious tendencies is someone who enjoys doing things repeatedly, regularly, and with some sort of dedication, then being religious in that sense helps. So, for example, I do not believe in any particular religious faith or tradition, but I would describe myself as being a religious person in that I enjoy routine. I enjoy doing things religiously. I, enjoy learning about things religiously, but that's different than being religious. So York Rite is an organization within Freemasonry, but it's not Freemasonry, right? So the example I use for York Rite is, when I went to law school, everybody was a lawyer, or everybody was a law student, and you could be gay, straight, any religion you wanted to be, whatever it is, to be a law student. But then within law school, there was groups for different people. There was a group for women law students. There's a group for LGBTQ law students, right? There was a hockey team, right? In that case, so to be a law student, you could be of any religious faith, or you could be, you could be anything you want to be. To be a part of the women law students club, you had to be a woman. But that doesn't change the fact that to be a law student, first and foremost, you are welcome to be, male or female. And then there's a separate group within that that has a special requirement. So, to be a Mason, welcoming of any faith, as it should be. Then within that, there are certain groups that have specific requirements therein. But that doesn't change the fact that, the Muslim is just as much a Mason as the York Rite Mason, who had to be Christian. They are no more or less Masons. They are equal. And in fact, in Blue Lodge, the Muslim could be of a higher rank than the York Rite Mason, in that he might be the worshipful master. And the same way you have, committees of, within Freemasonry. You have women's auxiliaries. You have all these different groups that are part of Freemasonry, but that is not in and of itself the Freemason. The Freemason is a man or woman, but a man of any faith and any belief. This guy is a liar. Well, Harry, I am not a liar, I don't think. I try not to lie. I could be incorrect about things. But since I've been a Mason since 2007, and have attended approximately 1,000 meetings in 5 different continents: North America, South America, Asia, and Europe. So 4 continents. I'd like to think I know at least a few different things. I can talk about religion. I might be wrong about religion, but I can talk about it. And certainly what I can say about religion is, like I said, I know many religious men who have been Freemasons. They've been active in their churches, in their mosques, in their synagogues, and active within Freemasonry. Thank you, Brother Adam, for sticking up for me. It's okay. Harry, I can't get you on this live, but if you ever want to join a live with me, you're more than welcome. It sounds to me, well, I don't think he's a troll, Adam, to be honest. In my experience, trolls are people who, they'll jump on and they'll say something like, I don't know. They'll say something super racist, super offensive. It oftentimes won't even be about Freemasonry. It'll just be something mean or cruel just for the sake of being mean and cruel. Harry, it seems to me, and Harry, you may disagree with me, but that's fine. It seems like Harry has just been reading a lot of online incorrect information about Freemasonry, as well as probably he's read Morals and Dogma and misunderstood what he was reading, probably read some of Mackey and misunderstood some of that as well. And as a consequence, views Freemasonry in a negative light, which that's okay. He's more than welcome to have that view. Like I said, trolls are usually people, they'll come on and they'll say something like, I don't know, Hitler wasn't a bad guy or something terrible like that, right? Which nobody clipped that, but that tends to be trolls. They're just jumping on and saying cruel and mean things for its own sake. I think Harry, I'm going to call him Harry Potter, is just incorrect about a lot of things. But that's okay. People get to be incorrect on the internet. If everybody had to be correct on the internet, it would be a very boring internet. Ranch on pizza is 100% trolling. That is without question a troll. If you are putting ranch on your pizza, you are absolutely trolling. So Harry, like I said, I don't think you're a troll, but I do think you are incorrect. As somebody who has been to enough Masonic events and meetings, I'm comfortable saying that. Well, brother Adam, it's gross. Stop doing that. I hope you stopped. I hope you've stopped putting ranch on pizza because that is disgusting. That is disgusting. Is that really what you want, brother Adam? That's good. That's good. I bet you Harry Potter puts ranch on pizza. Um, all right. Well, we were talking before we had our friend jump on. I still hope you'll have to like and subscribe on, even though he's not a fan of Freemasonry. We'll talk about, once again, Freemasonry and sports. There have been a number of prominent Freemason athletes that have made a name for themselves on and off the field or court, green, etc., and are showing that Freemasons have the power to affect the masses in a positive way. We all know that playing or watching sports is a beloved pastime of countries all over the world. But what many don't realize is how Freemasons have contributed to the process of creating and spreading the games we enjoy so much today. Read on to learn about the origins of some of our favorite sports and discover 3 of the most impactful and dedicated Masonic sportsmen of the last century. The immensely popular game of soccer, I would not eat it. Also known as football, was originally created at the Freemasons' Arm pub near London Covent Garden in 1863. In the process of deliberating the rules of the game, Masons created 2 categories of football: association football and rugby football. Initially, the differences between the two were blurry, but by 1874, they had settled into the distinct sports we know them to be today. There are even aspects of soccer and rugby that are mirrored in Masonic rituals and traditions. For example, the signal used by soccer referee to indicate a successful goal is also used by the Master Mason during meetings. I did not know that, but I guess that is true. Even the leadership structure and meetings rituals of the Football Association incorporate many key practices associated with Freemasonry. Masons have also helped to shape and popularize another game we know and love, baseball. There were several Masonic baseball leagues in major cities throughout the early 20th century. In fact, well, I hope you're enjoying it, because I'm reading this from Scottish Rite New Northern Masonic Jurisdiction. In fact, a jersey exhibited by the Scottish Rite Masonic Museum and Library is said to have been worn by a player in Detroit during the 1910s and 1920s. Throughout history, a number of Freemasons have been successful professional baseball players, so so that in 1935, Trenton's Tall Cedars of Lebanon Force No. 4 held an all-star Masonic game pitting National League and American League players against each other. Freemasons continue to be an integral part of the American sports tradition. Many of our nation's most beloved and accomplished athletes are an integral part of our brotherhood. Here are some we think you should know about. Arnold Palmer, the king of golf. Considered one of the greatest golfers of all time, Brother Palmer was raised a Master Mason in 1959 at the Loyal Hannah Lodge, number 275 in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. He is often credited with popularizing the game of golf along with other members of the Big Three, Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player. Throughout his athletic career, Arnold Palmer had a total of 94 professional wins, earning him a rightful spot in the Golf Hall of Fame. So he was a Master Mason, 1959, Loyal Hannah Lodge, number 275 in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Very cool, the Mighty Mites. I did not know that. Jack Dempsey, World Heavyweight Champion. Born William Harrison Dempsey, famed boxer Jack Dempsey was a member of Kenwood Lodge, number 800 in Chicago, Illinois. He is known as the reigning World Heavyweight Champion for 7 years, from 1919 to 1926, and as a result became the richest athlete in the world for that time. Brother Dempsey's distinct fighting style made him one of the most popular boxers in history, with many of his fights set audience attendance records. When the country entered World War II, Jack Dempsey selflessly enlisted in the New York National Guard, served as United States Coast Guard. Ty Cobb, the Georgia Peach. Inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1936, Ty Cobb is considered to be one of the best baseball players of all time. He was an outfielder and played 24 seasons of Major League Baseball until he retired in 1928. He was known for his aggressive playing style and incredible technique. He joined Royston Lodge number 426, now 52, in Detroit, right across the river. At the young age of 21, he received his Scottish Rite 32nd degree in 1912. Cobb's family had a history of Freemasonry as well, where his father served as Master Mason of Royston Lodge number 426 from 1899 to 1903. At 7 feet 1 inch tall, 325 pounds, Shaquille O'Neal might be one of the tallest Freemasons of the 21st century. The legendary basketball star player played on 6 NBA teams and is a current NBA analyst. Shaq is said to be a member of Widow's Sons Lodge number 28 in Boston, where most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Massachusetts, F&AM, Grand Master, most worshipful Frederick B. Summer, made him a Prince Hall Mason at sight. He's also shown his Masonic ring. So he was, according to New Jersey. Harry Thotter, when you say occultists, what do you mean by that? Because I don't necessarily disagree with you. Occult as a term means hidden. There are many things that are hidden, right? Like Pepsi keeps its recipe for its soda a secret. I don't think you would call it, Pepsi occult, even though you could argue the recipe for Pepsi is occult in that it's hidden from the public. Almost anything esoteric can in one way or another be defined as occult. It's only in the last 100 or so years that the term occult has taken on more nefarious tones for people. I don't know if he is or not, Brother Adam. I've heard differing opinions on it, on the legality of it. In my opinion, I would consider Biden a Mason. I would consider him a brother. Based on the information I've seen, a Mason on site through the Prince Hall of North Carolina, I think it was. I forget the Prince Hall jurisdiction that made him a Mason on site. But others have disagreed and say they're not. So there's differing views on it. I would say he is a Mason and was made a Mason on site by the Grand Master. But interestingly enough, he would be the one Masonic president who was made a Mason during his term in office. Every other Masonic president was made a Mason before his term of office. He would also be the one Mason to be made a Mason on site. And he would also be the one Mason to be made a Mason the day before his term of office ended, which is really cool. Actually, I think Biden was one of the better presidents. This is just me speaking. Even with, if you want to say half a brain, I think he had a very impressive presidential career. In the 4 years, he got a heck of a lot accomplished. The CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure Act, raising the minimum federal wage, some reduction in student loan repayments, support for LGBTQ. I think all that stuff really, really impressed me. So I am a fan of Joe Biden. The one Democrat who's managed to defeat Donald Trump, which, again, if you're a fan of Donald Trump, you might not like that, but, Well, he did reduce student loans for some that he could. So why is religion anti-LGBTQ, Harry? I mean, I would consider myself, again, I'm not religious. I'd consider myself pro-LGBTQ. But again, I think it would depend on your definition, because I've known people who are various religious faiths who are supportive of the LGBTQ rights, but I've heard some who aren't. So when you say religion, I mean, religion is a very broad term too, right? Religion, there's a lot of different religious traditions out there with a lot of different beliefs. I mean, I would say when you say the term religion that's a very broad statement. That's true, but I am someone who, understands how language works. So I understand the danger of using a general term to discuss specific policies. Um, I never heard that, but if that happened, that makes me very, very sad, and I wish that would not happen. I'm sure it's happened many times in the past, and that's unfortunate. I've known many gay Freemasons. They're awesome guys. They're my brothers. They're my friends. I met one just recently, actually in Chicago. So it makes me very sad for the fact that things like that still happen in 2025. Um, sure, you can. Well, I mean, I don't know what that would mean. You can be gay, you can be straight. I mean, if I have sat next to gay brothers, I've known they were gay. It did not make any difference to me at all. Um, I don't even know what that would mean. Well, then Tennessee is wrong, and that is a mistake. I mean, you could, I don't know what it would even mean to be openly gay. Yes, you cannot be having relations with another man while in open lodge, but at the same token, you cannot be having relations with a female in open. You can't, just don't do that in general, and beyond that, you'll be fine. I don't even know what that would mean otherwise. Um, but yeah, like I said, I just met a Mason who was gay in Chicago, and actually I knew a Mason in Ontario who was married. He was gay, and he would bring his husband to all of his Masonic events as like his spouse, his plus one. Um, Harry Thotter, I don't think LGBTQ would be considered satanic ideas. To my understanding of Satanism, or Satan, not related to LGBT. There are maybe some LGBT people who are, maybe Satanists, but I know some straight people who are Satanists. I don't know any Masons who are Satanists, at least for that. Well, I mean, what I'll say, Brother Adam, about that, my personal view, my favorite policy regarding trans issues and Freemasonry comes from the United Grand Lodge of England, which is 2018, I think, is when it came out, which said, look, if you are a trans man, then you're a man and you can join a Masonic lodge as a fraternal organization, right? And it's not an issue. So I think the United Grand Lodge of England had the best policy on it, but I know every lodge and has different policies as to how best to approach it. Well, marriage, yes, I kind of want to go to that. I don't know if I can or not, but I heard about it. It looks awesome. Well, I mean, I can't speak to marriage as a concept. I mean, there's a religious connotation to marriage and a civic or civil connotation to marriage. Um, I think from a civic perspective, um, LGBT should have the right to be as miserable as everybody else and get married if they so desire. Right? Why should straight people have the lion's share of misery? Let the gay people get married and be miserable too. Um, is the old joke. But no, I support gay marriage. I don't know, I always have. Um, I disagree with you, GLE. Well, I mean, and different jurisdictions have different rules. I personally would, have, and I'm sure it's happened. I may not have known about it, but I'm sure it's happened somewhere. I would have, no issue sitting in lodge next to a trans brother, right? A brother who was biologically female but transitioned to male. And I wouldn't need to know either. It's none of my business how that person was born. It's my business who they are now when they meet me and the way they treat me. That's what matters. I have no idea, Harry Thotter, what that even means. Why LGBT copying straight people? I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't think they are. If they were, they wouldn't be LGBT. They'd be straight, right? I mean, do you mean why do they want to get married? Well, I think they want to get married because it's a natural human inclination to, if you love someone who's capable of loving you back, to want to have that relationship somewhat cemented or, recognized by the state, and by the people around you. I mean, people love ceremonies. People I would say it's natural for human beings to have a desire for ritual and ceremony. Heck, that's where almost anything we do in life comes from. Religious ceremonies, civic ceremonies, sporting ceremonies. Like, why do we start every soccer game or football game with the national anthem and with the shaking of hands, or end with the shaking of hands? Those are rituals, right? And so human nature is desirous of ritual, I think, right? I think that's a very natural thing. I think we see it all the way back millions of years ago when you start to see the first funeral rites amongst kind of our human ancestors. So there are no level 1 Freemasons, Harry. That's a misnomer. I think you're saying entered apprentice Mason, as in first degree. I am not. I am a Master Mason, actually a worshipful master, as well as a 18th degree Scottish Rite. No, not yet, Ryan. I would consider blocking if he starts to swear or starts to insult me or anybody on the stream. Calling me a level 1 Mason, I don't find that insulting. It's incorrect, but it's not insulting. What do I worship? So I, as a Freemason, the same thing as everybody else, believe in a supreme being. I can tell you, for me personally, my supreme being is non-denominational. I don't necessarily believe in the Christian version of God, nor the Muslim, nor the Jewish, nor anything like that. I believe there is a supreme being that exists. I don't know much about him. I believe that he has made his will known to man through basically karma, or the rules of, like, when we stub our toe and it hurts, that's the supreme being telling us don't do that again because it hurts, right? And I believe that he generally, the reason he makes like bad decisions cause some type of pain and punishment, and good decisions cause not that so much, is because he generally wants us to be happy. So Harry, I think Bush Light, please hit like and subscribe. Harry, I think, so my supreme being doesn't have a name. I don't know what I would call him other than a force that governs the universe in some way. Not even governs, a force that created the universe and desires and favors virtue, and wants us to be virtuous. My suspicion, Harry Thotter, is you are relying on perhaps morals and dogma and thinking of Albert Pike. There is no supreme being that Freemasons worship, right? Freemasons do not worship any one particular supreme being. That would be like saying which supreme being the football players worship, right? Freemasonry is a club. Every Freemason worships different beings. Now, I think what you're getting at is your belief, I suspect, is based on what Albert Pike said. You believe that we as Freemasons do have a singular being we worship, and you're calling that Lucifer. That's based on Albert Pike, but that's based on a misreading of Albert Pike and what Albert Pike was actually saying. As well as keeping in mind, Albert Pike was writing for a specific jurisdiction, Scottish Rite, Southern jurisdiction, about 100 years after Freemasonry was already well established. So my supreme being does not have a name. Um, it is, I guess, the best way to describe it is a force that prefers virtue, and through the rules of the universe, sets it up because he wants us to has made his will known through man by creating a universe with rules and with order. Um, what's the appeal of becoming a Freemason? It depends. Bush Light. It depends on the Mason. So some want to join because they had family who were Masons and want to be closer to their family, either literally, like the family might still be alive and they want to take part in something that their dad takes part in, or because their family passed away, but they still want to be part of that and learn more about, be part of something their family was a part of. Some join because they are interested in history and they want to join an organization that's been around for, about 300 to 400 years, give or take. Some join because they are looking for social groups and social clubs and want to make new friends. Some join because they want to try to make the world a better place and think Freemasonry can do so. And some join because they've seen a lot of conspiracy theories on the internet and think we have hidden gold and treasure somewhere, which those guys tend to be very disappointed when they join. But it's very much a personal question. Well, yeah, that is a huge difference, right? Religious people tend to believe in some type of specific supreme being that has a name and has characteristics, right? And is like, it's God, it's Jesus, it's Allah, it's whatever it is. Whereas Freemasons, it's depends on the Freemason. It's not, you go to Masonic Lodge and you're going to see a lot of different religious beliefs and supreme beings and spiritual beliefs represented. Well, maybe. I mean, it's okay. I mean, Harry Thotter hasn't said anything, in my opinion, that I take offense with. I appreciate his being here. Like I said, I think he's been perhaps reading some incorrect stuff online, but I still appreciate him being here. So maybe the Jedi would accept you, Harry Thotter. I don't know enough about the Jedi because I'm not a Star Wars guy. To the extent that I'm in anything, I'm a Star Trek guy. Honestly, what I am is a scary movie guy. The fact that Weapons is coming out, I can't wait for it. And The Long Walk by Stephen King. But Harry Thotter, I guess what I'd say is try to perhaps keep an open mind about, what your views are on Freemasonry. I don't think so, Ryan. I'll see. Well, no, but that's not a conflict of interest. I understand what you're saying, Harry. I think that you are, I'm not sure if you have a religious faith, Harry, but I think you're making the same mistake that the Catholic Church made when Pope Leo XIII wrote Humanum Genus, which was his work outlining why he disagreed with Freemasonry, or the Catholic Church disagreed with Freemasonry. The mistake I think you're making, Harry Thotter, and I've used this example before. Let's say and I'm assuming you're American as well, Harry. I could be wrong, but I'm going to treat this from American perspective, or even Canadian. Let's say you witness a crime, and you are called to testify in court, right? As you sit in the courthouse for the day, you are going to see people swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But then what they're going to swear on is going to be different depending on their faith. So in Canada, for example, if you're Muslim, you can take that oath on a Quran. If you're Jewish, you take it on Torah. If you're Christian, Bible. If you're First Nations, I think you can even use an eagle feather or something to that extent, right? You would not say, well, I'm a religious person, so there's a conflict here because we have so many different religions represented in this room, and different holy books represented in this room, and different gods represented in this room, because the courthouse is not a religious entity. It's a civic and community space. In the same way, Freemasonry is not a religious entity, right? So a person who is religious, let's say they are Christian, they can go to a place where there are people of multiple different faiths who are all maybe praying to a different God or different understanding and not find any conflict, because the the Masonic Lodge is not meant as a replacement for religion. It's a civic or community or club group. If that made any sense, Brother Adam, let me know if that made any sense to you. The example that I just gave, but so it's no conflict for a religious person to be in a non-religious setting, which is what Freemasonry is. It's a non-religious setting, right? Um, and Freemasonry, I think, must be and needs to be non-religious because it needs to serve the whole community. I'm comfortable with there being within Freemasonry religious kind of, I'm comfortable with the idea of within Freemasonry you have different sectors that can maybe cater to, maybe there's a club for Christian Freemasons, maybe there's a club you start for Jewish Freemasons, there's a Muslim Masonic Association. I'm fine with all of that, but I think the core level, the base level Freemason needs to be inclusive to all faiths, and I think being inclusive of all faiths does not equal or equate with any type of conflict of interest. Well, there's the softball game coming up on the 30th. I hope that you will attend. It would be wonderful to see you there. But yeah, once again, the four Masons, the four sports superstars that we know of that are Masons: Arnold Palmer, the king of golf, 33rd degree Scottish Rite, made a Master Mason 1959 at Loyal Hannah Lodge, number 275. Jack Dempsey, world heavyweight champion, Kenwood Lodge, 800 in Chicago, Illinois, where I just was. Ty Cobb made a Mason at Royston Lodge, number 426 in Detroit. Shaquille O'Neal made a Mason on site. Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Massachusetts, F and AM. Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate that. We're just going to see who else joins. So that was some interesting things about Freemasonry and sports. You might be getting some quizzes on my channel, so pay attention to those. Going on, I did want to mention this article I just found, Consumer Affairs, updated July 3rd, 2025, comparing the cost of generations. Not that I know of, but I'm sure there are some. So a lot of people have said that, it's harder to purchase things in 2025 than it was in, let's say, 1970s, when Freemasonry as just a straight number was much higher in terms of numbers of membership, right? It's interesting because, as they point out here, while it may not always feel like it, Americans today have more purchasing power than they did in the 1970s. Since 1973, the national median income has grown faster than inflation. In 1973, the median income was $4,141. Today, it's $46,190, a 1,015% increase. I have, Courtney, no response. Over the same period, the Consumer Price Index, a common measure of inflation, rose by 586%. So on paper, today's dollar goes further, allowing room for, and here's the key, non-essential spending. But as the next section shows, the cost of essentials like housing and education has skyrocketed. These rising expenses have chipped away at the gains in purchasing power, which helps explain why many Americans still feel financially strained. Right? So the issue is it's cheaper and easier to purchase a house. It's cheaper and easier to purchase food, especially junk food and food that's bad for you. It's harder. I agree, Brother Adam. It's harder to purchase a house, right? Um, right. The most dramatic difference between the cost of living in the 1970s compared to the 2020s is the cost of owning a home. About 69% of consumers say they are concerned about the cost of housing. Pew Research Center reported, which is not surprising given that median home sale prices have increased over 1,000% since the 1970s. While a 30-year fixed mortgage in 2023 was roughly the same as the mortgage rate in 1973, wages simply haven't kept up with the price of housing, making it difficult for first-time home buyers to find a lender. But even compared with a few years ago, home prices are significantly higher. Price increases coupled with interest rate hikes since 2019 means buyers would pay approximately twice the monthly mortgage payment if they bought the same house today as compared with 5 years ago. Right? Not to mention homeowners insurance premiums, which are up by over 23%. Basically, the cost of a median home in 1973 was $37,222 compared to $426,100 today. Renting is also more expensive, right? And why does this matter for Freemasons? Because if you're a Freemason and you have to decide between how much money you need to save for a home versus joining a Masonic lodge, are you going to join the Masonic lodge, or are you going to save every penny to own a home? Are you going to work more hours and therefore have less time to dedicate to civic groups such as Freemasonry, right? Like, if you feel economically unstable, if you feel economically insecure, how likely are you to start joining community groups and civic organizations? Or are you going to focus all your energies on making as much money as you possibly can in order to be able to protect yourself from some of these items and some of these scary moments, right? Same thing with tuition. If you're paying back student loans, same issues, right? Like you see, while Gen Z, so the bottom line is, while Gen Z has more purchasing power than baby boomers did in their 20s, today's young adults faced a host of financial challenges, particularly when it comes to essentials like housing, essentially like housing and education. The dollar may stretch further than it did in 1970s, but the rising cost of necessities has made it harder for many to get ahead. So it's cheaper to buy a TV, more expensive to buy a house. With that in mind, does security result in fear as it relates to spending money on things like Freemasonry? I am sure he has a busy schedule. I'm sure Shaquille O'Neal has a very busy schedule, but maybe we can get him to join at some point. I think it'd be really join the podcast at some point. You just keep trying, and who knows? Sooner or later, something might happen. It's like that old. It's like Shawshank Redemption, right? You just keep trying every day, and you see what takes. Sooner or later, maybe you get lucky. Sometimes you just got to wear people out. But yeah, I talked about this before, like the reason I always harp so much. I talked yesterday about tariffs. I talked today about rising costs of housing, is the economic conditions of a country affect Freemasonry, and that's especially true in North America. Now, there are many countries in which it has a poorer standard of living, but you have growing Freemasonry. Part of that is because in those countries, Freemasonry acts as a social safety net, where it's like if you're guaranteed nothing, you need to rely on your friends to help you if you get sick or whatever it is. In places where you are guaranteed at least a base level of something, like if you get sick, you can go to emergency room, then it stops being so much a desire for a safety net, at least one you can see, and more a desire for how you get ahead. And in some ways, Freemasonry makes it, Freemasonry may not be an obvious help with that if you're trying to buy a house, if you're trying to pay for college, if you're trying to pay for medical expenses. Freemasonry may be able to help get you over a couple months, but then you're going to be right back where you are. People may be feeling like, I don't have time to dedicate to Freemasonry. What I need to do is dedicate myself to working as much as I can and saving as much money as I can in order to afford this house. And you may also just feel like, why should I contribute to society by joining a Masonic lodge or joining civic groups if society is, making the things I need, housing, medical care, tuition, more expensive, right? If you feel like you're working very hard but not getting ahead, that may give you a more negative view of society as a whole, which would include the civic groups, which kind of undergird and underpin what society is. And so we need to pay attention to these things. So I wrote an article about this on Medium. I hope you guys will check it out. And I'm going to write another article updating that article with this new comparative consumer affairs report. So pay attention for that. I have had Brother Fluff on the podcast before, Courtney. Yes, I did, and it was wonderful. Brother Fluff is a great Texas Freemason, something I'm proud to have. I mean, yeah, and things like health insurance, things like that stuff matters, but how do I put this? I think for a lot of people, especially middle-class people in the States, I will take it, Mike D. What really scares them is, how can I get ahead? And they may not feel like Freemasonry can help them, even though I think it can, as much as, working 20 hours a week or something. But Oddfellows, these were groups that offered both social capital and sometimes literal insurance. There's also specific groups that offered it specifically for Black Americans, African Americans who were kind of not being granted insurance opportunities or being sold insurance due to racist policies of the time in the 20s, for example. "14 votes. We have a pretty optimistic crew. Will Freemasonry exist in 50 years? Yes, 86%, no, 14%. I suppose what I could have done is change the question to say, will North American Freemasonry exist in 50 years? Because that's a much more complicated question. Because Freemasonry, in places where it's still growing, may still continue to grow, but that doesn't necessarily mean it will grow everywhere. Party is rocking. By the way, Mike D, I know you've been on here before, but if you've not done so, please hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know how your day is going otherwise. I hope that you are doing well. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you enjoyed my discussion on Freemasonry and sports, as well as my brief discussion on purchasing power and the way it affects Freemasonry. It was a great number, yeah. So it goes up and down. I'll be back on at 1 a.m. as well, so that should be a lot of fun. It'll be a much shorter stream, but we'll still do that this morning at 1 a.m. We'll see how many people we get, and we'll kind of go from there. So please take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button if you're just joining us. We've done this stream for 2 hours and it's been a blast. And don't forget what we have coming up. August 16th, I'll be streaming for 2 hours from the Windsor Hip Hop Festival. August 20th, a 3-hour stream on Instagram from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And August 21st, it will be the second 24-hour live stream, which is going to be an absolute blast, starting at 2 p.m. and going to 2 a.m. I agree. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be hard, but a lot of fun. And I enjoyed my last one quite a bit. Yes, starting at 2 p.m. on August 21st and going till 2 p.m. August 22nd. So please, please, please hit that, join me there, mark your calendars. Don't join for all of it, obviously, get some sleep, but join when you can. Hello, I can't pronounce your name. I'm sorry, but please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you, Courtney. And by the way, invite your Masonic brothers to join as well. It'd be wonderful. From Santa Ana. It'd be great to have them join as well. But if they can't, that's no worries at all. I know how busy people are. Everybody's super busy at the moment. So I don't, I don't expect them to just show up. But if they can, that'd be great. Like, your one buddy, he runs one Masonic brother, he runs like a resort, like a giant resort. So I know he said just keeping the grass cut and the power lines up and running and everything that needs to be done and all the repairs is very, very, very hard. So I know he's busy. Well, Jazane, since you have been transferred to a different facility, maybe you now have access to the internet, but I don't think it is in fact you. I think you might be a troll. In fact, you almost are certainly a troll. But even trolls can hit the like and subscribe button. So there's that. We're going to give it another, let's see, maybe 5-10 minutes. I'll be posting some stuff on the socials very soon, so make sure you pay attention for that as well. In the meantime, let me know how you guys are doing and if there's anything that you guys want to talk about. Thank you, Courtney. When is the next dated meeting for you guys? I do not. I have a cat, which is all I need. My cat's awesome. We should. And well, let's start with the August 30th baseball game and go from there, right? Start with our softball game. Start with that and then kind of move forward from there, like one thing at a time. I'm not Christian. I believe in a supreme being, as all Masons must, but I do not believe in Jesus per se. The second Tuesday of August, so it's coming up soon. That'll be a lot of fun, going to your first meeting after your initiation. Those are really, really enjoyable and can be really fun experiences. So I am a Freemason and proud of it as well. So and that's what this stream talks about, right? What we talk about is Freemasonry, my experiences therein, why I love Freemasonry, why I think it's good for the world, and we explore, we provide content which explores the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it is located. Well, the old standby: to be one, ask one. So Marco Price, if you want to be a Freemason, what you need to do is find a Masonic lodge that's close to you, contact them. You can usually find an email address or something through Google, or even write them a letter. Say you want to be a Freemason and express why you want to be a Freemason. Right? Why you want to yourself be a Freemason, explain that, and you kind of go from there, right? But the first step is you have to express an interest. Absolutely. Showing up for your first meeting after is a great way to show your dedication to your lodge, Courtney. I 100% agree with that. So I think the fact that you're planning to go is going to be wonderful. And it's going to just demonstrate how much of a commitment you have to the craft and to Freemasonry altogether. So keep up the good work. Well, the benefit about it is you get the opportunity to fight to make the world a better place, right? It's about not what you can get personally benefit from, but rather it's about the ways that you can join something that will help make the world a better place, right? I've said before that Freemasonry, in my opinion, this is just me speaking for myself, Freemasonry is the belief that the world can be made better through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And Freemasonry is a way for you to join something and apply brotherly love, relief, and truth to help your brothers, to help the community. Beyond that, though, obviously the benefits are you get the chance to hang out with people that you would not otherwise meet, make some brothers, make some friends, challenge yourself by, being forced to grow in different skills and abilities. And you get to be part of an organization and have brothers all around the world. So all of that stuff is incredibly valuable. What's so good about it? That's going to depend. That's going to depend on your personality and what it is that you think is good about things in general. For me, love the fact that we have men of all different faiths and beliefs part of the lodge. So I think it's a wonderful organization in those ways. And I hope, Marco, if you've not done so yet, you'll hit the like and subscribe button. All right, I'm going to give it, let's say, just a couple more minutes. I will be back on tonight at 1 a.m. because who needs sleep? But thank you. But I do have to grab some lunch at some point because I am hungry. Grab some lunch, do some content work, all that good jazz. But by all means, join me at 1 a.m. as well. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you guys will have a great night, and I will see everybody soon. All right, guys, talk to you soon.